Question 1. Recognizing that none of you are economists, what are you currently seeing within the sectors you follow about how the current economic climate is impacting the view of your clients relating to their plans to enter into transactions or raise capital? Jim, why don't we start with you?
Well, first of all, Kurt, thank you, and thanks HA&W for sponsoring this. And it's always nice to see Randy and Tom. One of the nice things about being in the South in our business is that we compete, but we stay friendly. So it's nice to see some old friends. And I'm a little hesitant to try to give you any sort of overall economic thesis because I'm not an economist. I don't play one on TV. We're sort of in the weeds. Somebody once told me asking an investment banker what the economy is going to do is like asking a fish why the moon's effect on gravity makes the tides go up and down. You're sort of in the water, but you don't know why. But having said that, I'll make a few global comments. Obviously, corporate profits have snapped back quite smartly since the lows of the fourth quarter of 2008. We've also seen productivity gains across the board. They've been very, particularly in some of the sectors that we cover, and you know, industrial, consumer, restaurants would be three examples. We've seen dramatic cuts in labor costs. We've obviously seen efficiencies in terms of capital, particularly working capital, and that's all helped boost earnings, and I think it's helped boost confidence. We also see a lot of corporate clients today that are extremely cash rich, that are benefiting from historically low interest rates on debt instruments that have been in place for a while and that are floating rate. In many cases, we still have corporate clients who haven't had resets, so they don't even have LIBOR floors. They're just LIBOR-based borrowers, and essentially, if you're a LIBOR-based borrower today and you're even close to investment grade, money is close to free. I mean, everybody talks about carry trade. I mean, the whole world is a carry trade today. So I think that companies are well positioned to think about transactional markets and, frankly, to think about capital formation markets. I guess that I'd also say that, and I want to sort of be careful as to how I say this, but I think that there are some countervailing uncertainties. I think that a lot of our clients, while they're optimistic in the near term about their own businesses relative to where they've been over the last 18 months, and they're generally more optimistic about the economy on the whole, as they look sort of to the intermediate and longer term, still feel that there's a fair amount of uncertainty out there. I think that there's a lot of concern over the direction of interest rates. We're going to have to fund the deficits in the stimulus programs that we've created. I think that in the long run, although the dollar is strengthening this week, there's a lot of uncertainty around where the dollar will be and what it's going to take to defend the dollar. And I think that generally there's a lot of subjective concern about the basic foundations of our economy and whether they've been damaged dramatically over the last couple of years. And obviously only time will tell. But having said all of that, I think that the overall mood among our clients is markedly better than has been over the last couple of years. And I think that we'll see an uptick, a significant uptick, and we are already seeing it this year in activity. Just anecdotally, we are, as you said earlier, Kurt, we're part of a consortium of firms around the world called M&A International. A lot of the work we do is in partnership with our alliance firms around the world, and twice a year we get together as a group to just kind of exchange best practices and to talk about the world. And we invite selected clients to those meetings. We do what's called a Strategic Acquirers Forum. This year the meeting is in Stockholm. We limit the number of strategic buyers who we allow to come to this meeting, and it is sold out now earlier than it has ever been before, which surprises me.
I would just add, as all of this economic discussion relates to the transaction world in general, I mean, certainly a lot of this is sector specific. And when you look at sectors such as healthcare, technology, from a transactional standpoint, you're seeing very little valuation degradation even from the top in many circumstances. When you get to, though, sectors such as auto, things that touch the consumer, building products. I mean, these are obviously still very tough sectors, certainly. Hopefully we've come out of the trough, but difficult for investors to come to. And from a seller's perspective, equity gets, if you have an auto parts business that's been hit 80%, or one of our building products clients, we have a lumber distributor client, revenue's gone from $874 million to $210 million. That's tough. And from an equity standpoint, equity gets pretty resilient there. It's very tough, certainly, to bring in capital in those situations, to look for liquidity in those situations. But on the flip side, private equity obviously views those sectors in certain circumstances is very vibrant and bright from a investment thesis standpoint of, maybe the knife has now fallen and is bouncing, and maybe it's time to pick up the knife in those sectors.
Yeah, I would just add, first of all, Jim, you may not be an economist, but given it's Groundhog Day, you're one of at least two good prognosticators. Today is Groundhog Day. So.
It's time to see a shadow out this one.
No, but I would just add that most of the turnaround in profits at corporations these days has come at the expense of suppliers and employees. Has been through cost cuts, and we're still yet to see any real turnaround on the revenue or top line side, which is obviously an issue, and hopefully GDP growth picks some of that up. But fundamentally, firms need to show growth for their shareholders. And so what that means, what we're seeing in terms of transaction activity, companies are much more interested today because they think they've gotten past Armageddon from the first part of last year and can plan and make some projections and are looking at more acquisitions and that type of activity to support the growth of their companies.